Hey guys, welcome back to Cyberspace Investigations. Supermassive Games is one of the leading makers of choice-based video games that actually have choices, unlike the false advertisements that Telltale puts out. The crowning achievement of their library, however, has to be Until Dawn, a PS4 exclusive horror game.
I've played many Telltale games before and been slightly amused by the choices that the game afforded me. I thought that would end up being the limit of what could be done with the idea of choice-based games. That is, until I discovered Detroit Become Human, and I realized that some devs were willing to take that concept and bring it to a new level. Despite enjoying the first few hours I played of it, I could never get into Detroit all too much. That was 2 years ago. Recently, due to the constant pestering of a friend, I gave Until Dawn a try, and boy was it a good decision to do so. The gameplay here is very similar to a Telltale game in movement and QTEs, giving a sense of familiarity, while the other sides of the game have been elevated to a higher level of quality. To this degree, it makes the movement feel outdated, and a problem I have with Final Fantasy X comes up here. When switching screens, the direction of input does not, meaning I have to stop moving and readjust the character to continue. I think that's about the only gripe I have with the game in general. The QTEs are quite simple, and I never missed one throughout my initial playthrough save for one time near the end. Any time besides that one that I missed was deliberate to have something happen in my favor, or just something I wanted to happen in general. The single QTE that was legitimately challenging for me to pull off was the one where you had to keep the controller still. This was mostly because I was talking with someone who was watching me play at the time, and sometimes they would startle me, ruining the QTE. If that wasn't there, I would have seriously gotten every QTE correct, and I would have ended up with a better conclusion. That's one of the game's shining achievements. You never know if the choices you make affect something good or affect something bad. Every choice you make, you have to grapple with the consequences of, and that leads into the butterfly effect. Of course, Telltale games are supposed to have something similar to this within them, but Supermassive knocks it out of the park. Each choice, major or minor, has some sort of lasting impact on the playthrough. Whether or not to kill a squirrel, or who you have to choose to save at a certain point I won't spoil, all of them have impacts that will define your playthrough, and what you do on the next one. It makes for an incredibly replayable experience, and because the game's only about 4 to 6 hours long on a single playthrough, replays aren't too big of a hassle. Let's get on to the horror aspect now. Now, I don't like horror games, plain and simple. I hate jump scares, I don't care for the cheap thrills, and I would much rather play a game that's more relaxing or engaging in more gameplay-centric ways. Most of the games I'm talking about, like Five Nights at Freddy's and Slenderman, have a distinct lack of in-game story. And now, I'm not talking about the lore as a whole, God knows FNAF is just brimming with things like that, but at face value I'd like something a little more complex and intriguing. Until Dawn brings that. There is a good story here, with compelling characters and a few twists and turns throughout. The main cast is large, consisting of many different people you'll play as throughout the game. Each of them have distinct personalities and traits that make them a joy to play as. Except Emily. She's the worst.
Now we'll be going into spoiler territory. Not too spoilery, but proceed at your own risk.
Until Dawn's story has many dynamic aspects that allow it to tell a great tale. One of the things not included in this category are the facial animations. They just kinda look uncanny. This was made over 5 years ago though. Even though most of them look alright, there just seems to be something slightly off about them most of the time. However, the voice acting in this game is phenomenal. Every character feels real and like a real person. Each of them, when in stressful situations, all sound like they're really there. But the one who takes the cake for me just has to be Dr. A.J. Hill. I don't know what it is about him, but he is just the most eerily menacing character in the game, and when you finally understand what he is at the end, it makes it even better. There's a variety of different locations visited throughout the game, including mines, mansions, abandoned buildings, snowy forests, and absolutely no areas at daytime. This all happens at night, which among other things probably hides a bit of not so great texture work. We don't know for sure, but one of the techniques that devs would use to hide shoddy work. Something like Final Fantasy VII Remake did that too, with the daytime textures not loading quite right in a lot of areas. Each location feels pretty different, though the same can't be said for the level design. It's mostly just straight hallways, which suits this type of game well, as large open areas don't work all that great, but I would have liked some more variation that way. One of the most replayable aspects of Until Dawn has to be its many endings and branching paths. Since there are so many main characters, you have all these combinations of people who can be safe or killed by the end of the night. Now, how different are the endings? I'm not sure, as I haven't done enough playthroughs to truly know. However, from what I do know, one of the minor things that can change is the end credits, where more of the characters talk to the police about their experiences on the mountain. That, combined with the butterfly effect I mentioned earlier, turns the 6-hour game into a 30-hour experience, should you be interested enough in what's on offer here.
Yeah, there's a lot to love and replay in Until Dawn. And while I don't plan on spending much more time with it myself, if you like these choice-based games, I have a burning recommendation for you right here. Well, that's all the time I've got for this one, so see you guys next week for another great program.